Welcome back. Thanks for listening. So I want to talk about, I think a few podcasts ago, I talked about Robert Cialdini and the same book that I've been reading, I finished reading a few weeks ago, called Influence. I think it's one of the best books I've ever read, and I've been reading a lot the last few years. So, he talks about how people don't sue doctors that they like. And I thought that was a very important message for people in leadership, because being liked is a big deal. And for example, right now we're growing a lot, and so we're training people to conduct interviews. We're training people that start at entry level. We're training them to move forward in the company and basically learn how to run the company. And I tend to discover that people, when they are liked, they somehow do better. And it is a skill to be liked, especially when you're under a lot of stress. And there's things you can do to be liked, right? So if somebody was to come and tell you, like, hey, you have to be more likable, that really doesn't help. But if somebody was to break that down into like different behaviors you can do so that people can like you more, you will probably get your point across faster. People normally feel more complied to behave when they like somebody. So if somebody was to tell you, hey, being likable doesn't really help if I just told you to be likable. But if I told you, hey, smile when you speak, or nod your head when you speak, or pat somebody's back when you pass around, or be nice when you have maybe you have a quick answer to somebody and you're not sure what to say, and you want to, maybe like your flesh wants to respond in a harsh mode, maybe in that moment is when you choose to be nice. Or learn to be interested and ask 2 questions to every person every day about their personal life and how their life is going. And all of those things, when you bundle them up together, equal you being likable. And so the book talked about how 87% of people left a higher tip in a restaurant when the waiters would bring like the little mints or the little chocolates after, right before they brought the bill, instead of bringing them after the bill, where the tip's already been, when the tip is already done. And then it even increased higher than 87% when the waiter would bring 1 mint for maybe each person on the table, and then kind of like pretended they forgot and kind of comes back to the table and be like, hey, I got you a second one, and brings a second mint, almost as if that is special, versus just bringing 2 mints or 2 chocolates right away, if that makes sense. That makes the person be a little more likable, and it would increase tips almost 100% than a person that didn't do that. The book talks about how physically attractive people, research says that people say yes to physically attractive people more than they say to not as physically attractive people. And so if you're in sales or you're in a position to be liked, or in leadership, I think it is important for you to dress in a way or present yourself in a way. And a cheap first impression is very expensive. So you can only make a first impression once, and people will always remember. Again, especially if you're in a position of influence. So you want to put yourself in a position to where I got to do my best for people to like me. The book also talked about people that are in groups together, working with the same goals, help each other more because they like each other more. So I remember this study that he did, where they would put people from different like racial backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds. They would mix people up from all walks of life, and they would put them in pairs. And each half of the teams, half of the couples would work on the exact same project. So it would be this like white guy working with a black person on the same project, and then this Asian guy working with this like whatever person in India, person from India, on the same project. And then they would have this other group of people, and they're also mixed in from all walks of life, and they would have them in couples working on different projects. And the study says that at the end of they would make them work through like a project, let's say for 20 or 30 minutes, and then they would take one person out of the couple, and they would say, hey, you're done, your person can finish. And you are free to stay if you want to help your partner finish or not. And all of the group of the people that were working, like the couples were working on the same project, even though they were working separately, but they were working on the same project, they felt like I'm not sure the exact percentage, but way more compelled to actually stay voluntarily and volunteer their time to help finish because they had that commonality. They were both interested and they both wanted to get the same thing done, versus the people that were coupled up but working in different projects. The people that were working in different projects volunteered a lot less to stay in order to, help the other person finish because it was voluntary. And I think it matters a lot that, the first thing I said is people don't sue doctors that they like. And so you can be a doctor, you can be a lawyer, you can have a high paying position, but then if you're not liked at the end of the day, which comes through marketing and sales, which comes with people skills, which comes through, interacting and meeting people. You can be a lawyer, but if you have no clients or no one likes you, you can know the law, you can be the most up-to-date person on it. It's not going to make you any money, or it's not going to grow to your potential because you're not being liked. And it is so true, because I think, and again, it's about percentages. I'm not sure the exact percentage, but many of the like casualties that happen in hospitals are human error, and like doctors that do make a mistake and they can mess something up that could be hard to reverse or irreversible. And it's funny how the studies show that when those doctors have been having consistent communication with the family, with the patient, they've been receptive to gifts, they've been also gone out of their way, gone the extra mile to protect or help that patient, it's a very, very hard for that doctor to get a lawsuit on something that happened, and the same for a lawyer, even though they might have made illegitimate mistakes. So if you're a person that, hey, maybe you're building a team, maybe you're learning how to sell, maybe you're learning how to, maybe you're just getting into a new work culture, maybe you're starting a new position, maybe you are, whatever it is that you're doing, one thing you can always work on and you can always do is, hey, how can I work consistently and intentionally on being liked? Not that everybody's going to like you, and I'm not saying that, there's, people are not everybody's going to like you. You're going to have your critics and your haters and all that. But being intentional about, hey, I want to be a likable person to my coworkers. I want to be a likable person to my employees. I want to be a likable person to my customers, is going to result in you being more effective when you ask for a favor, or when you ask somebody to sell more, or when you ask somebody to meet with their family or spouse, or when you ask somebody to move out of town, or you ask somebody to do whatever it is that you ask. If people like you, they do feel more complied to behave in that manner. So I really recommend this book. If anybody wants to read it and maybe leave a comment or something, I think it matters because it breaks down all these different behaviors of leadership, studied and backed up by stats. And I really never read so much about how much it matters to be liked in the workplace. And we all remember like that boss or that manager that was a complete, dick. And I'm sorry for my language, but we all have in mind that person that really was never helpful. And we also have in mind the opposite person that was very, very helpful. And regardless of the job, I bet that you would stay and work with the person that really helped out because you liked them. And at the end of the day, we spend too much time at work to choose to work with somebody that we really, really don't like. Even if the financial compensation is bigger, it ends up being more expensive to stay there. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully you liked it, and see you soon.